What's going on? And welcome to the eCarrierCheck show. Jared, happy Wednesday, man.
Morning.
Halfway through the week, brother.
Yeah.
Good to be here. I always enjoy spending my Wednesdays and Fridays and obviously every day with you. But it's just something special about hopping on our show and just being able to chat live.
Yeah.
Being able to chat about some of the things that we've heard throughout the week and what we've experienced. But how has your week been so far? I'd be interested.
You know, a couple of things that I like about our show is that we try to give the audience, give our community, give the people that follow us things that are happening at the ground level. Yeah. Because every day you and I are digging ditches. Right. You know what I mean? Another day, another 50 cents. Exactly.
Amen, brother.
Exactly. You know what's funny? I got to tell you, Tire Killer, just because it's just
up to you?
A couple of us on here. Guys at the top shape. What's up? What's going on? Cheers. It's good to see you, man. Tire Killer, you'll find this kind of entertaining just because for the sake of it. The other day I set my kids' alarm, and their alarm is just Alexa now. You don't have a clock. Does this make sense? You don't actually need a clock. You just ask Alexa what time it is.
Yep.
If you have a question, you ask Alexa everything's Alexa. I don't need anything else.
Here's
I
the
don't
nice
have to
thing.
turn on my damn light.
It's no more dad.
Oh,
Alexa.
Lord. I don't know if who's raising my kid right, me or Alexa. You know what I mean? And there's a whole nother kettle of fish here. However, you can set a song to play with your alarm. And there's no, as in YouTube world here, there's no copyrights. Any song in the world can wake you up. So I put on there trailers for sale or rent. So I get up, it's like 6, I don't know, I was waking the kids up at like 6:20, and I go and I hear it playing trailers for sale or rent. It was just kind of funny. I was like, now we're having fun. You know, and my kids were like, who's this? This is garbage, you know, and I'm like,
eating their waffles.
Stop it. Like, you just woke up. You don't even know anything.
You don't even know.
You don't even know what's going on. You're 9.
If you had to pick a song to wake up to, what are you picking?
You know, that's interesting. So real quick, have you ever played every alarm that they have in your phone?
Yes, 100%.
I've gone through all of them, and you're just sitting there going,
what do I want to wake up to?
That's okay.
Yeah.
You know, and my wife is like, hey, we're going hard. She gets up and just goes. So she has like this crazy like rager music, and I'm like, what the hell is that? I just want to wake up to something soft.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's my world.
That's fair.
Give me something soft. Give me something a little different.
One of the crazy things is I noticed if I set I have the alarm has something on the phone that the iPhones, give you. Well, someone will have that as a ringtone, and I'm like, okay, what the heck's going on? Kind of throws me off a little bit. Am I sleeping still? Am I dreaming?
What are you waking up to? Are you got some Travis Scott or something?
No, gosh, no. Maybe some Lil Wayne. No, it's just your normal ringtone that comes on this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I have too.
But something soft, because I don't want to be woken up to something super loud.
Let's just kind of go. Tire Killer, be safe.
Be safe, brother. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know where you're at, Tire Killer, but honestly, here's something that would be interesting to know if this affected you at all. I know most of your freight is contract, but we were talking through and listening through some February freight market reports, right? And this has been interesting. February turned out to be surprisingly a chaotic month for the freight industry. Spot line haul rates, continue to drop down. The combined data index showed a decline of 12 cents. I don't know when the bottom hits here for freight rates. And I know it's a weird year. We've got an election coming, every day. Like, I swear to God, like my parents think there's going to be a war tomorrow. Facebook got, hacked or shut down the other day. DAT goes out, and my parents are like, they just lose it. They just completely lose it. It's so good, man. They're like, this is it. We're getting that, we're getting attacked. And I'm like, just their servers went down. Yeah. It's fine.
Right. Well, from what I've been reading, I mean, people are still trying to stay positive. They're hoping by maybe the end of the year, maybe early next year, things turn around. Yeah. But obviously it's still a shit show.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
it's not pretty.
Just kind of put it out there. But yeah, it is a pretty, and just speaking with the people that we talked to on the phone too, they're people still getting in this industry, knowing how bad the market is, but or this industry is going right now. And it's, they're grinding. I feel for those people getting into this industry at this time. And I'm glad we get to talk to them. We get to help them out. And and just grind with them. But
I think though,
tough.
like as far as timing, I'll give you some thoughts on sales. We're talking cold calls today, selling and things like that, because that's what we do.
Yeah.
Boy, we had a guy the other day comment on a YouTube video and said, "Hey, I'm starting my brokerage up." I had the opportunity to reach out to this guy and say, "Hey, tell me more about what you're doing. How are things going?" He was a driver. He was a local P&D driver for a grocery store down in Louisiana.
Nice.
Nice enough guy. Got injured and decided to start a brokerage, right? Which makes sense. And if I was going to start a brokerage today, I would honestly feel pretty optimistic versus October, November. Sometimes it's good to get on the ground floor.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you can survive now, you could have survived. This guy though, just getting started this year. Yeah, exactly. It's going to be, just dropped a load, 100 pounds from Blytheville, Arkansas to Jackson, Mississippi. No kidding.
1,800.
What are you running? What'd you run 100 pounds in? Just throw that in the back of your truck or what? 100 pounds? Did you mean 100 pounds or 10,000 pounds? I don't know. I can't get enough of this guy. I love this guy. $1,800 though. It's a pretty good paying load. Blytheville, Arkansas to Jackson, Mississippi. What is that? It's got to be 600 miles, 500 miles. It can't be very much. You got $3 a mile. That's a good number. 275, right? Good number. I like it. But this cat, I asked him, I said, "Well, what are you going to do?" And he goes, "Well, here's what I want to do is I'm going to start calling other local grocery stores." And I said, "Well, that's not a bad idea. You have the experience in it. You know what's going on. You understand the ins and outs of it and some of the challenges that they have, And I just talked to him yesterday. He and I have been texting. And he said, "I've talked to 5 different grocery chains already." And I'm like, "Well, that's interesting. If you'd tried to make those calls 6 months ago, you weren't talking to anybody, right?" And what I've seen so far in my cold calls, in my cold emails, which I really want to talk about today, my God, we're getting responses. We're getting people to call us.
Yep.
Last week we had Dan Deegan on, and I think he said something so powerful. He said, when you're having these calls, you need to ask them, what are they going to do when the market turns?
Right. It's such a different tactic too. I mean, everyone obviously wants freight, but you got to show that you care about that. What's going to happen when it does turn?
Yeah.
But you also got to be prepared to answer. "Oh, I'm not sure." If they come back to you saying, "Oh, I'm not really too sure," then you can shed some light.
You got to think through.
You got to think through that process, right?
Yeah.
So
I do think 289 miles is all. Man, apparently I don't know my miles. I'm terrible. I need Google Maps.
He's been out of the freight broker game.
Yeah, I know. I'm terrible. Apparently I don't know geography. God, my kids don't know geography. It drives me nuts.
Parent teachers conference.
Honestly, literally, I don't even think the school system teaches them geography. The other day I said, "Well, we have to go to North Platte for this," which is like 3 hours from here. They go, "Where's that at? South Dakota?" I'm like, can somebody teach this kid a map? Give him a map.
We're in Nebraska.
What happened to maps?
Oh my God.
God. All right, 289 miles. I'm off a little bit.
Yeah.
That's a good paying load, though. I don't know how you got it. Nice job. Get more of those.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things too that I've noticed with going on in the news is some Mexico hijacking, and the reason that caught my eye is because I had about 2 phone calls this week. It's only Wednesday, of people saying, "Hey, can you find me some carriers calling from Mexico to Canada? Mexico to Minnesota." So these are some pretty hefty, trips, right?
Yeah.
Lengthy.
Yeah, 3 countries.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
Yeah.
It's not even theoretically, it is.
But a couple of things that they're dealing with, some hijacking down in Mexico, and some interesting things that some stats that they dropped were, these are reported cases. 6,030 in the first 9 months of 2023. That's how many were hijacked.
What? Say that again?
6,030 reported cases of hijacking going on in Mexico. And so when I read that,
like American trucks?
Yes.
Good God.
People in that region trying to move their freight, right? And I mean, obviously they're coming from Mexico to the U.S. too as well. But
right.
But this is happening in that region down there. And once I said that, I sent this guy a list of carriers, and then I read this morning. I'm like, I should probably forward him this article and just be like, "Hey, just beware. Make sure you're hiring safe carriers. Make sure your carriers know about this.
Right.
be aware of the things to look at, right, in your surroundings.
Right.
So that really caught my eye this morning reading this article. And you can see more of that at Reliance Partners, their website there. But I thought it was interesting because I was having so many talks from shipments coming from Mexico, coming to the U.S., going to Canada. It's crazy down there.
Yeah.
It's scary. And I don't know what the answer is to kind of help have more security to maybe make this number go down in 2024. But, it seems like no one really has the answer for
Yeah,
anything.
that's a hard one to, the only thing that I can say, and we used to move some crazy, we used to move, what were we moving? Like, it was like automotive parts down into Mexico. It was like these plastic components that they'd use for the center consoles.
Okay. So
back in the day, I did work with Ford and GM and all that. And they used to move these parts, and they were assembled or made up in Detroit and then taken down to, to the final destination there in Mexico to their plant. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that I always found out anytime you guys are hiring Mexico carriers, which, I wish I'd had eCarrierCheck back then.
Right.
But if you can find some carriers that, that have that experience, boy, that's really worth your time. You don't want to hire the guy that just is starting to go down there for the first or second time.
Right.
Finding the guy, I tell you what, that was what changed really a lot of those loads is we hired those guys. And some of those loads just were really kind of off. You know what I mean? Like it was more stressful than it needed to be. And then we found a guy, charged a little bit more, but he had a lot of, experience going in and out of Mexico, and our life just got better. It got a lot better. So
I mean, it's just a completely different ball game when you're kind of moving from, freight from Mexico to the U.S., right? I mean, I've never experienced that, but from what I've heard, people either stay away from it because they're unsure, or they just kind of jump in and say, well, let's see how it goes, and let's see if there's something we do moving forward. But I've heard it's a different ball game. That, so you gotta make sure you watch out and ask the right questions, do what you got to do.
It's wild.
Yeah. But yeah, T Harris cold emails.
T Harris talking about cold emails. So I gotta break in some thoughts here. Okay. And we're talking about cold calls, cold emails. So this week I had the opportunity to start to beta test some of the newer update that's coming in the next 3 months for eCarrierCheck, right? I don't know the exact time frame, but I do know that it gives you some guidance on maybe email formats. It gives you some guidance on phone numbers and locations and all kinds of crazy stuff, right? There's some cool things that are coming, right? We don't have a time frame just because we want to make sure it's right. That's probably our biggest thing, Yep. Nobody wants to get on eCarrierCheck and it sucks, right? So we had the opportunity to do some cold emailing. In fact, actually what we did, and we didn't even, one of the guys that I worked with here locally who's beta testing this for us, we said, hey, here's what I want to do. I don't want to do any cold calls today. I just want to do cold emails, and let's send out as many as we can.
Because cold calls had them down today, or this week.
Exactly.
So you guys went to emails.
Exactly.
Switching it up.
Exactly. So, and Dan Deegan actually said this last week. He said, I find a little bit more harm. I don't remember exactly how he said it, but it was just a little less friction to send that email.
Mm-hmm. And here's why he said that is because obviously those shipping managers or the people in logistics on the other side, they're getting a bunch of calls.
Blown out.
And they're probably busy, pissed off, whatever, right? But one of the things that Dan said was, well, you know what? I send them an email. They may not get back to me until about 4 or 5 o'clock when they're about to, check out. But at least they're starting to slow down their day, can read through your email. Yeah. Hopefully it was a well-valued email, right? Right. But I think that's a really cool addition to add to your, instead of cold calling every day.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
You got to be trying.
I love that tactic.
Yeah. So here were the things that worked well, okay? And that we got responses back from. We sent out, I'll just measure what we sent out, what we resent out, because we've done this twice now. Okay. And here's probably the most interesting thing, okay? So we sent, the subject line was 2 words, okay? It was what he specialized in as far as equipment. Okay. This guy, right? Charles Mundy's in the house. What's going on, man? Good to have you.
In the house.
This guy's the godfather. I love this guy. You guys have questions, you call Charles Mundy. I can't get enough of this guy. Turns all better. Have a plan in the pocket with a reliable backup plan B and C. Yeah. I agree. I completely agree. We're going to talk about that a little bit more here in a second because I want to talk about when DAT went down this week and some of the success stories that we heard. So we'll talk about that here in a second. But real quick on the email. So really short subject line. And it was 2 sentences. I said, you have to write everything you can in 2 sentences. And I'm not talking like a run-on sentence. And so it was a quick hit. Here's what I do. Here are the areas I work in. Here's the equipment I'm doing. Would you have 20 minutes this week we could talk or next? Right? 10 emails, 4 responses. We got a 40% return rate. Now, here's what we did the week before. We did that exact same, not the exact same customers, but we sent 10 emails the week before.
Okay.
We got 2 responses that week. Okay. However, we responded back to the 8 people that didn't respond to us with just the same email. Reply all. I copied or deleted all the stuff out of there. And we just sent the same email. Not an email. This is something I wouldn't recommend doing. Really? Yeah. Wow, really? Yeah. No, we've gotten some incredible 40% exactly. We've gotten some incredible, like we made 2 sentences and had a short subject line. I'm telling you, shippers are starting to talk. They're starting to take the time to go, I probably need to get maybe a couple people to help me out here, right? They're starting to, it's the ice isn't, I mean, we're not talking like frozen here. Like the ice isn't broken loose yet, but it's coming, you know? But here's something that I thought was really interesting. The ones that we followed up with last week. Now that was 20% last week, right, Charles? We sent an email back, the same email, those other 8, okay? And just deleted it off. And it didn't say, I don't know if you saw my email. Those drive people nuts, right? Do you remember me when I followed up, right? Don't say that shit. Quit. Stop it. Even like cold calls. I hate when you say that. Yeah, we talked about 8 months ago. Just redo the conversation. Hey, man, how you doing? You know, I know we've talked in the past. And I know, you know, when we talked last time, this is what you said, you know, here's some new value or here's some new things that I'm doing, you know, try to position yourself a little bit different. But those emails that we posted out again, we actually got a meeting with a gal that was like, yeah, I'm very interested. When can we get together?
So she was the one that didn't respond last week.
She didn't respond the first time.
And you sent it again this week.
Sent it again.
She got back to you. Let's set up the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So we talk about cadences a lot, right? Where we just sit there and go, well, what's the next move? What's the next step, right? What's going on, man? This is our guy right here. I like this guy. We're going to do some time with this guy. This is the guy that's the owner-operator out of Missouri. Love this guy. I find him very entertaining. We're going to try to get him some direct shippers and do it on our show or do it on DIY.
I think we might be going on DIY.
Something like that. So we've just had a couple crazy weeks. So I promise you, we're going to get there.
I got to talk with Adam, and we're going to get something scheduled.
We'll get something going, though. But I'm excited to have some of those conversations because we found some really good leads, actually.
From eCarrierCheck.
From eCarrierCheck. So, and the new beta, which I thought was even more interesting. Something to we'll be talking about that, and we'll try to stream it on both platforms, or I don't know how that'll work. Maybe we just take the copy and just push go or something. I don't know. You guys can watch it on your Saturday morning coffee. But
anyways, back to this lady setting up a meeting.
Set up a meeting, and what I think is really interesting is that we haven't had that call yet.
Mm-hmm.
But she took the time to respond. She said, "Yes, I need help in this." It just happened to be, what this guy specializes in. And I know sometimes you're throwing out some emails. We got, of those 4 responses, by the way, Charles, we got one response that says, well, we don't use that type of equipment in that area, right? Tim Moses, beta's getting polished right now. I love that. Anytime somebody says polished, I don't know what, but about polishing, anytime you say something about polishing, it reminds me of my jewelry days.
That's right. Yeah.
We'd have so many people come in and like, can you polish my ring? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And man, I tell you what, it looks like one of those grinders is what a polisher looks like, a ring polisher. And it's just instead of it being one of those grinders you'd see on your workbench, right? It's got this real soft cloth.
Okay.
And you put a rouge on it, and it can take out scratches, and it makes it real pretty because gold or silver or platinum, whatever it may be, it can do that. So that's what Moses is doing right friggin' now. He's
in the
sitting
back.
there. He's just polishing rings. Now, here's some lessons I've learned. Don't try to put a necklace on that.
Oh shit.
Oh my God. It just wrapped up in it. And I was like, well, at least my thumb wasn't in it. But then I just ruined this lady's necklace. And what do you do?
Oh, so you were actually polishing?
Yeah. This was back in the day when I was actually making jewelry.
Gotcha.
And it was wild. I mean, I worked at a small jeweler right there in the mall. This was like I was 16.
In your hometown?
Right.
Oh, wow.
Loved it. Loved every second of it. It was wild. Now, I didn't necessarily care for retail. That was a different level.
Yeah.
But polishing and being around that fabrication side,
yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
God, you got your teeth in some jewelry.
Yeah,
that's
crazy. Teeth. Yeah.
Baby's
getting polished.
Yeah.
That's what Moses is doing. He's just sitting there polishing rings right now. I love it.
I can see him doing it.
Yeah, I could too.
So let's talk about, okay, you got that meeting scheduled, or you're going to get it scheduled.
Yep.
That broker's going to do it anyways. And then how should he or she prepare for that first meeting? What should be said? What should I be asking right away? This is the first meeting, potential customer, to see how you can support them. Yeah. What are the right things to be saying?
I don't think that's an interesting question. I really don't think, when this lady and then that broker get on the phone, I think something that I'm more interested in hearing, and I'll let him have this call. Maybe I get a join. I hope I do, but sometimes my schedule's kind of weird.
Yep.
Is,
hey, Tim.
Hey, what's up, Tim? How are you, man? Good to see
Thanks
you.
For being here.
The thing that I told him and I coached him up on is I said, hey, you need to have 3 really good questions, right? And the 3 really good questions need to be around process and how they find those specific types of carriers. Because this guy does some weird stuff, right? He's finding pole trailers and all kinds of weird stuff, right? And so he needs to have really good 3 good questions. The conversation probably isn't going to last longer than, say, 20 minutes. The hope is that he finds out, here's probably how the conversation goes. Hey, how are you? And they have a little bit of short conversation about the weather or where we're at and all this randomness. And then you're just going to transition over and just going to say, hey, I know from the original email we just talked about, how do you find these trucks? Tell me about your supply chain. What works and what doesn't? And leave it very open-ended. Let's get them talking. You know what I mean? And just listen for key points. I've always been a big fan of when I'm on a cold call, sometimes I lose myself because I'm writing so many notes, right? I want to just hear some of those hot buttons, right? So direct S, what? I don't know what's TR saying there. Direct shipper? What? I don't know what's going on. Either way, I don't know what's going on. But that's the first question.
Okay.
Tell me about your supply chain.
Yep.
What works and what doesn't?
I like that.
I think you need to make sure from an empathetic standpoint. I'm always a big fan of relationships. I don't know why I'm sitting so far away from you. I feel like we should get closer. The rest of the show will be in my. But you need to think about it from her empathetically standpoint.
Right.
What's working for her? What's not? What are her goals? Everyone's got a boss, right? What are her goals? What is she trying to accomplish in 2024? We don't know. We don't know what motivated her to send us back, but something obviously caught her attention in 2 sentences. In less than 60 words, we got her attention.
Right.
I think it was less than 40.
Yeah.
It's awesome, right? So those are the first few things. The other thing I think you need to think about is, well, now that I understand your processes, I believe we can help. Here's some of our processes around your process. A lot of processes going on there. And then I would ask for the sale in no other way of putting it. Well, hey, I think there may be a fit here. Maybe we could do some quotes, or maybe we take the time to get set up as a vendor or as a carrier for you. How does that process work? Right? And then once you get those things behind you, set up the next meeting. How can I be of assistance to you to benefit you for the rest of this year? When should we get back together? So those are probably the 3 parts. I want to hear what's ticking and what motivated her to respond, right? I want to hear what's working, what's not, what scares her for the rest of this year, right? And then what's keeping you up about your supply chain? That's one of my favorite questions. Right. I walked in, we had a Fortune 500. This is actually a Fortune 100 conversation. And I walked in with a supply chain engineer, 2 supply chain engineers from Britain, by the way, or from England. They had the funny accents. I loved them. I loved every second of it. And the guy that used to be the CEO of a major trucking company, huge trucking company, and he walked in and he sits down and he goes, "What's keeping you up at night?" And it was just probably one of the most interesting kind of icebreakers.
Yeah.
Hey, when it comes to your supply chain, what's keeping you up at night? And they came out and started talking about some of the process things that they weren't meeting. And it allows people to, if it's open-ended enough, I think the broker that's going to have this conversation, he doesn't need to just dive right into exactly what he talked about. Let's understand their whole supply chain. Okay. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah. No, I enjoy that. I mean, obviously, not every conversation is going to go like that, but
right,
in hopes that it does.
Woo! I've seen some other ones.
Yeah.
She may just be a beast. You don't
know. Yeah,
she may be. Could be a Karen day, and we're just those are my kids. My kids all call them Karens. She's a Karen. I'm like, honey, she's just trying to take your order. You know? So it's one of those things. You never know what's coming out of a kid's mouth. I'll tell you that.
And for those of you that are showing up today, what is supply chain? Oh, I love that. Jared, what is this? What is a supply chain for the listener?
This is the operations behind how they sell and how they make their product, right? Every product, there was something that I thought was interesting. There was a water bottle demonstration done at a college that was posted on YouTube like 10 years ago. Right? And it talked about the logistics of the bottle, right? And this professor was like, hey, in order for the supply chain of the company that sells this bottle to work, he needs to get in the raw goods, right? He needs to make this thing, or he needs to purchase it from somewhere. But guess what? His supply chain is now inbound of raw material or a pre-made piece. Then he adjusts it and makes something and then ships it out, right? That's, in a sense, his supply chain. Now, there's a lot to this, right? There's the process behind your billing. There's process behind the proper paperwork. There's process to paying your customers. There's process to vetting your customers. The supply chain, even honestly, this was probably one of the most interesting things. I love this. This is such a great question. We went to a customer, me and the Brits. God, I love the way they talk. I feel like you should have tea with milk every day. Like, I need to go to England. You have a buddy over in Europe. I need tea with milk right now. We're having tea and milk. Instead of beer, we're going to do some tea and milk and see if I can choke it down. I don't like milk, really, but I love tea. But here's something that I thought was probably the most interesting thing. You ask what the supply chain is. We went to a customer and actually saved them over $32 million on their supply chain.
What? Holy cow.
By just controlling the flow of the inventory into their facility. Who owned it, when, and although those were soft savings, their board, right, they were a Fortune 100 company, said, hey, how do we lower our inventory control? They went to their vendors and said, hey, we're not going to take control of it when it leaves your facility. We're going to take control of it when it gets to our facility, which allowed them to have 4 additional days of inventory taken out of their supply chain. At any given day, they would take in over $20 million of supplies into their supply chain, right? Right? Exactly. And so its supply chain is very robust, right? Yeah. And a lot of these people that we're talking to, they're your shipping managers, right? Logistics managers, transportation managers, maybe they only control the trucks in and out. There's somebody controlling how much money they're spending on inventory, who's making those decisions on inventory, how do they account for that inventory going out. So you got to think about it from an engineer standpoint, a logistics standpoint of, hey, if I'm sitting in your shoes and I need to move this freight for you, When does all that happen?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So there's some deeper conversations that are really important to understand, because I know of multiple shippers that try to get a lot of freight out of their friggin' system at the end of the month so that they can account for less inventory every month. Right? It helps their P&L, their profit and loss statement. So kind of a really a larger question there, but Tire Killer hits it on the head. Raw materials for products, warehouse, distribution, stores to customers. That's the simplest way of putting it, but you can kind of get a feel.
Right.
We didn't touch a truck to lower their costs. We just touched the way they were negotiating with their vendors.
Right. That's awesome.
It was wild.
That's crazy.
It was one of the more interesting
into that
conversations.
meeting, going into that conversation, though, did you have all this set in place? Like, all right, we're going to come with this. We believe this is how we can save the money. Or is that something you were like, shit, I can do this on the spot? Like, did you come into that meeting knowing you could do this?
That's a great question. No, we didn't. Okay. We wanted to have an exploratory conversation with them about their supply chain as a whole. Okay. And so what we did is we asked for the 3 different people to be there. We wanted to know the person that was controlling the freight in and out. We wanted to know the purchasing person that was controlling inbound flow of material. Okay. And then we wanted to have somebody that was related to the profit and loss statement. Mm-hmm. So it was the CFO at that particular time. Yeah. All 3 of those people were in the room, and we were able to not only understand their supply chain just by starting the question, make this a shipment.
Yeah.
Right. And 2.5 hours later, we could figure that out. Right. It was wild. It was the most insane thing ever. We didn't even touch a truck. Right. We just touched how they did it.
Right. Man, that is so interesting.
They owed us some big money. No, I'm just kidding. They actually, it was a suggestion they took. This is something that happens as you give value in these meetings. Sometimes those customers just take it. Right. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Hopefully at some point we get paid. Right. This is what we do. Everybody's got a mortgage. Everybody's got rent. Everybody has a grandson or a nephew that needs a present next week. Right. So that's the big thing. Yeah.
I love that, Jared. That's a great story and something I didn't know about you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So those Brits were wild, man. The Brits were very entertaining. They both had, the one was a doctor in supply chain engineering. Okay. The other one was, he had, I believe, some kind of master's degree in supply chain engineering. They've also both like cut their teeth at Ryder, cut their teeth at these huge, big companies. Right. I think the one helped shut Kmart down. It was just an interesting, some of these older guys, my God, they truly have a brain power on them that if I could get the Brits on the show, and they won't come on the show, they
should write a book.
They should. It's very entertaining to talk to these guys, and they just talk about it in a different light.
Chai latte,
tea with milk. T. Harris, you like those green ones? Have you seen the green ones? The matcha or the?
Yeah, Starbucks been selling those, right?
Yeah. Do you like the green ones? I'd be curious if you do. Do you like the green ones?
I don't know.
We should try them on the show. I need one. I've never tried one. I like the color.
Guess we'll have to get a Starbucks one of these days and
bring it on. That. I would enjoy that.
Jared, let's get back on the road here. No, I enjoyed your feedback here because this is we're taking it to the next level today from what you.
That's the hope.
Yeah,
hopefully every day we can help you.
But we want to talk about more ways other than just cold calling because a lot of people are down this year. Freaking March.
I know.
But last year was kind of just a weird year as well, just with cold calling.
Yep.
But we talked about cold emails. Something that Will Jenkins loves to do is just kind of what's the word for it? You kind of spread out your tactics, right?
Yeah.
You're cold emailing, you got your calls, you got your video messages. Yeah, direct visits, emails.
That's so key.
Exactly. There's other ways to do it. I mean, obviously, if you live in a small town like us, it's a little bit harder to do those direct visits. Unless you can go to the surrounding
Unless you
areas.
drive. Yeah,
right.
Unless you drive.
We're 3 hours from Denver. Heck, I would plan a day, take that trip to Denver, go get some good ramen or something down there.
Get some ramen.
Make some business visits.
Maybe one of them green coffees.
Exactly. Social media.
I think this year, and for any broker that's out there that's really struggling to get somebody, that was the first thing that we said to the guy from France when we were doing international cold calls. It was my favorite.
It was
we're international spies. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't to LinkedIn. Exactly, Tim.
So I think it's really important to, I love walking in the door, shaking their hands, somewhat of a firm handshake if you can, right? But anytime you can get in front of people, I talked to a guy, he was old school LTL guy last week. And now he's a freight broker, and he was like, I'm going to go out and make some calls. And he did. He went out and made 5 calls, had some incredible experience. Things have been going better. They see the commitment from you walking in the door.
Right.
But here's what, Charles Money kind of lays this out. And I think this is really interesting. So this was Thursday. He walked in all their doors. After that, right? And he left them PDFs. Then what he did is, guess what? He followed up with an email and said, I love this.
He does lay this out.
And then guess what? He goes into LinkedIn, like Freightmaster says, Tim here, and he connected with that guy, right? Mm-hmm. And so it wasn't just the direct visit. He sent an email. He connected with on LinkedIn. Tire Killer, what is LinkedIn? It's okay. It's definitely very entertaining. My algorithm's really off right now. I liked this one. Gosh dang it. I love gardening. Okay. So I liked this lady's post about gardening, right? And I'm just sitting here going, okay, I gotta get, the garden's got to start getting ready. Mm-hmm. Now my damn social feed is just all gardening stuff. I'm like, okay, tomatoes are good, but I got to get back on freight.
I tell you what, you're something else, but Tire Killer LinkedIn is freaking awesome, man. Yeah. I think that's maybe a LinkedIn, the Charles' profile, but you should go link up with him. But it's a powerful, platform. I honestly, first thing I do, I used to get on Twitter. Now I'm waking up looking at LinkedIn because I got these people that I follow daily.
Yep.
And they kind of get me like, all right, let's kick today's ass.
Yeah.
Let's get this discipline going. Because there are some days where I'm just like, I want to lay in bed today.
Yeah.
But after, like, for some weird reason, I'll go to LinkedIn, I'll see something, and someone's just trying to give you motivation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's more than just that on there, but it's a way to connect. It's a way to kind of give feedback, kind of get yourself out there as well. So definitely get a LinkedIn if you're anywhere in this industry, in my opinion.
Or any industry. It's kind of a professional Facebook without maybe some of the
copy this and
send, copy this and send it to 10 people, or you're not getting, matcha with homemade almond milk. Okay, see, this is what I'm talking about. We need to go try this
next week.
We're going to try it on the show. I want to get some green matchas with almond milk. Yeah. Lineable and other network sites is another way to connect. Yeah, I haven't actually. It would be interesting to have a chat about a Lineable. I haven't really tried it out. But there's some great sites out there. LinkedIn obviously is the biggest one. It's the Facebook of professional services, I guess would be probably the best way of putting it. But yeah, check it out. I mean, I'm a big fan of it. Tire Killer, on a weird side note, it's just a fun way to tell your story. Yeah. And I think the other thing that is really important in life, especially when you're in a truck and you're alone, is just having connections. Having relationships. And I think this allows you to do that, right? Take a picture of your truck and post it. Take a picture of the load and post it.
Take a picture of the Denny's you went to or whatever, right?
It doesn't matter. I follow this pneumatic guy around. I find it very entertaining. He'll take a picture of where he's parked at, and he'll go take a picture of this and that. And it's just a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. And he's like, hey, I just fueled up with costs. Just so you guys know, that cost me $64 last night, or that cost me $195.
Right.
Or he posts all kinds of stuff. It just tells his story. It's a fun way for people to see your story. And so, although you may be like, I don't know about this, it's kind of fun just to put yourself out there, meet some people, build relationships, and give you another way of connecting with people, especially when you're alone. I think that's the biggest thing. I'm always looking out for your mental health there, Tire Killer. And I think sometimes it's nice to have a couple more friends.
We truly appreciate you being here every show too. So circling back here, we got some people in the
I know you got to keep watching. You got to keep me on.
But I want to read this Will Jenkins post because it hits home.
Will Jenkins.
I love him too. This guy's the freaking man. But none of this all will go right for you unless you have discipline. Because no one wants to do the hard shit. I mean, I get it.
It's tough for everybody.
But you got to think about your why. You got to have that discipline. So Will Jenkins says, discipline is more important than motivation. You won't always want to do what you need to do or be motivated to do it, if you are more disciplined and can stay on the course, you will be able to move forward when the motivation fades. Let that sink in.
Yeah.
But it's so true. You know, you start having that discipline. You start doing things without even noticing. Right?
Yep. Boy, discipline is tough. You know, look at America. We're overweight. What, 70% are pre-diabetic? Right. We struggle with discipline in America, right? However, sometimes you're right. You have to do the hard things. You have to keep going. And discipline is something that's really tough. I struggle with discipline all the time. I'm like, you know, and my wife, if you ask my wife, she'll tell you that I'm probably one of the more disciplined people she knows. I get up every morning. I know, honestly. I mean, I went to the doctor and he was like, "You need a cut, bro." Like, he didn't call me bro. I need to go to a doctor that calls me bro. I need to find a different doctor that tells me, "What's up, bro?" Bro, talk to me like a Russian dispatcher right now, or I'm leaving this friggin' doctor's office. Can you imagine doctors' offices that sounded like Russian dispatchers? Oh, I love that. Oh my God. I couldn't get enough of that.
You're too much today.
It'd be so funny. But you know, discipline's tough, man. Yeah. It's tough. And I love, you know, those people are nice to follow.
Yeah.
You know, they give you that, I gotta keep going. I gotta drink all my water today. I gotta get, you know, I try to drink a lot of coffee. You know, it gives me a little more, but you gotta stay disciplined.
Right.
There's your competition's always working. Don't get complacent. True. Yeah. There's a double broker that wants it more than you right now. I promise you. I promise you. I know. I am a little fired.
God, those fuckers grind though, man.
They do. They work hard. They work so hard. Imagine if they. It's okay. Imagine if they did what they did ethically. How much they could solve.
Right.
I love them. Just come over to the, you know, the green lightsaber instead of the red one. Right. I'm just saying. You know what I mean? Oh my God. We can save you. Yes. We can still save you. There's worth saving. I feel like we should try to find a double broker that went to the good side, like a recovering double broker.
Yeah.
That's what I want to find.
If you're out there, hit us up.
If you're out there, hit us up. We're all going to die. Might as well have fun. I agree. Yeah. I agree. I love that. You
know, Jared, I enjoyed our show today, man. We're 43 minutes in.
It's always good to see everybody.
Like I said, if you guys are, you know, getting down by the cold calls, switch it up. Stay disciplined, like Will Jenkins says. If you have any questions or need to run some ideas by us,
hit us up.
We are an open book, especially this guy. But, you know, that's a nice thing, though. You've been in this industry. You've been a freight broker. Yeah. You've cut your teeth.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I was a little yahoo, and you're over here slinging trucks.
Thank you. That's great.
It is gray over here. But seriously.
I look good for 60.
You're providing a lot of good value for our users and our viewers. So, you know, you guys are getting a lot of good free content here. And I really appreciate everyone being here.
Yeah.
It's super helpful.
Absolutely.
It keeps us entertained, and we love doing this.
I love it. Guys, have a great weekend. Thank you for being on. Oh, we'll be back Friday.
Yep.
We've got a great guest on. She talks about sales and the economy and things like that. So we'll be back Friday. Check us out. Outside of that, keep killing the week.